Let me sit down. Okay, you want to start?
Yep. Hi guys, my name is Sarah Silver. I'm the Director of Attendance and Transportation here at ACPA. And I just wanted to try to find a way to kind of address all of you and answer some of the common questions that I'm getting and hopefully be able to provide you with some information that you don't already have. I also just want to thank you guys for being so patient with me. This is a pretty unprecedented situation that we're dealing with. We were very blindsided, as were you. So I just really appreciate you guys bearing with me while we kind of figure out what we're doing. So I wanted to start with just some basic information about district requirements and kind of like what has happened up till now. So Columbus City Schools, well, really any school district is required to transport students if they come to a charter school. Unless it's deemed that they are impractical to transport. So every district, except for CCS and Groveport, they don't have enough students, and so therefore, the one or two students that live in their district are deemed impractical. If you're deemed impractical, then the district has to provide you what's called payment in lieu of transportation. This means that they'll reimburse you for a certain percentage of your transportation costs. Usually it's between about $500 and $1,100 for the year, paid out at the end of the year. So that brings us to Columbus City Schools. We do have busing with them because obviously we have a very large number of students that come here from Columbus. Historically, we've had, I would say, between 200 and 250 students that are bused from Columbus City Schools. This year, we had a bunch of letters go out, which many of you received, saying that you were not going to be receiving transportation, deeming you impractical, offering that payment in lieu of transportation. So it's kind of murky. The way that they've chosen to handle this violates a lot of guidelines set out in the Ohio Revised Code. So I was gonna kind of just like give you a timeline and kind of what the issues are, with what they've done. So there were 2 rounds of letters that were sent out. The first round of letters were just 1 page. They were sent out towards the end of July, and they basically stated that the family was not going to be receiving transportation because they were deemed impractical due to the 30-minute rule. The 30-minute rule states that if it takes longer than 30 minutes to transport from the district school to our school, so not your home address, but your district school to our school, then they can deny transportation. Every single person who received this letter that I know of does not have a district school that's more than 30 minutes away. So at that point, I started directing parents to appeal the decision. The appeal process looks like you submitting in writing that you would like an official timing. The Ohio Department of Education, they're the ones that conduct that official timing. And if they deem that the amount of time that it takes to get from the district school to our school is less than 30 minutes, then CCS has to reverse its decision and provide you transportation. To my knowledge, nobody has heard back yet of those parents that I know that filed appeals and requests for those official timings. So unfortunately, I don't really know much more about that process. I do know that when they do the official timing, parents have, the right to follow the vehicle, and that they won't conduct the official timing if there's any sort of abnormal traffic patterns or construction or crashes or anything like that. So it's really kind of set up to favor the parent. But again, I don't really know, how timely they are with those, or, anything that happens after that. So hopefully you guys will start hearing back soon and we can kind of get more information about that process. And then fast forward to the last week or two, there was a second round of letters sent out to other families. They were sent via certified mail. They were letters stating that the students had been deemed impractical to transport, but did not cite a reason. There was also a form, because the district offered payment in lieu of transportation, and you could either accept that payment or reject that payment. The district did say in that letter that you had 10 days to respond. I'm gonna come back to that later because that's one of those kind of like murky areas where that's not really true. So anyway, accepting the payment in lieu of means that you are going to let the district reimburse you, and therefore you will give up your right to busing. Rejecting the payment means that you would either like to appeal the decision of being deemed impractical, or you would like to appeal the amount of money that's being offered. Once you formally like reject the offer, then there would be a mediation that takes place between you and the district, and that's mediated by the Ohio Department of Education. Again, I don't believe that any of our parents have yet gone through this process for Columbus City Schools, so I don't really know what that looks like. I do know that ODE is very passive in that process, so I would say that that's not set up quite as favorably to the families as the appeals for the 30-minute rule. But again, I don't know for sure. After the mediation is complete, you can appeal the decision one final time, and I don't know what happens after that. I believe it's reviewed by ODE, but I don't know for sure. During the mediation process, so as soon as the district receives your form saying I reject the payment, the district is legally required to continue transporting your student until the mediation is complete. I don't have any faith that this is going to happen, but just it's helpful information for you to have, as you go through that process. Going back to that 10-day notice, the first round of letters that went out did not have any information about payment in lieu of transportation. Any student who's deemed impractical is eligible for that payment. The second letter gave that 10-day deadline. So I reached out to somebody at the Department of Education. I reached out to a lot of people, but I reached out to somebody that had been communicating with me about the payment in lieu of and asked about the deadline. And she basically said that, there's nothing in the Ohio Revised Code that says there's like a certain time frame that parents have to accept or reject. So while there may be some pushback from the district if you send that form back later than 10 days, there is not legal ground for them to basically forfeit your right for busing, which is I think what it says on the form, that you forfeit your right for transportation services or payment if you don't return that in 10 days. I think I've talked to enough of you, and the communications that we've sent out for it to be pretty transparent that Columbus is violating a lot of the laws in the Ohio Revised Code with regards to transporting our students. We are not sure, why or what changed, but in my opinion, this seems to be a pretty intentional decision by the district. Unfortunately, even though what they're doing is against the law, they know that the time that it takes to go through these appeals processes and mediation is time that they get out of providing busing for us. Those of you who are returning families, that we've had issues with transportation. Nothing to this scale, but it is very challenging just in and of itself as a charter school to have reliable transportation, because districts have no motivation or reason to transport the kids that are in their district to a school that's not their district school, other than the fact that they're legally required to. So some of the rules, I guess, that have been violated are none of you who received notification received it before that 30-day period. We as a school also did not receive any sort of notification. We actually found out this was happening from you guys calling in to let us know. And then obviously, citing the 30-minute rule when the district school is not 30 minutes away is another violation. I don't expect, again, for them to transport your students during the mediation process. So lots of violations happening here. So another thing that I wanted to share is that we did receive our bus routes from Columbus City for the students that are getting busing. It was less than half of our students. But I don't think that every single student who isn't getting busing has gotten a letter. The numbers just don't add up. So I wanted to encourage you, if you have not gotten a bus route and you have not gotten a letter, to please reach out to me, because at this point, anybody who has a route has gotten that information. We sent that out. We sent out the last of the routes this morning. So if you haven't gotten a route and you haven't gotten a letter, please reach out to me. You can call the school. The number, in case you need it, is 614-986-9974, or you can just email me, silver@artcollegeprep.org. I'd like to make sure that we have an accurate number of families who aren't going to be receiving transportation but weren't notified. Again, I'm using this information to try and push back against the district with ODE. I haven't gotten very far, but I'm still working on it. And then I also wanted to share some of the alternatives that we're looking into for, the foreseeable future, where a lot of our students aren't going to be getting transportation from CCS. I know a lot of you have that link for our carpool group on Facebook. I encourage you to join that group, even if you are going to be able to provide your own transportation. We have a lot of families who don't have any other way to get to school. And it's impacting our community pretty heavily at this point. So, even if you don't need transportation, if you're able to join that group and, maybe find there's a family that lives 3 minutes down the road from you. We just are basically, appealing to our community to just do whatever we can at this point. We're also looking into options using CODA. So CODA offers free transportation to Columbus City school students. So I am working on seeing if that would be available to us as well, or what other options we would have to subsidize the cost of using CODA for our students that could use that to get to school. And then we're also looking at if we can contract out to use buses from another school or other transportation services. I think that's pretty much all of the information that you guys have been reaching out about so far. I'm assuming there's a good amount of questions, so we can go through those, and I will try my best.
Okay, so somebody asked for the name of the carpool group. I linked that in the chat, so if you want to join that, click on that link. Maybe wait until after the live stream, because I think it'll redirect you away from here. Some of the parents were asking, did all impacted students receive the second letter? Some of these families have not received the second letter.
No, so I don't think there was any overlap between the families that received the first letter and the second letter. So if you received the first letter, as far as I know, you did not receive the second letter, and vice versa. As I said before, I'm assuming that there are students that have not received a letter and also are not going to be getting transportation, just based on how few students did get routed, which is again why I'm asking, please reach out to me. If you haven't heard anything either from the district or from me, please reach out to me so that we can try and figure out what's going on before the beginning of the school year.
So families that have received route information should assume that they are good to go with Columbus.
Yes, if you have received a route, then you are officially routed, you have transportation. you guys who have been here for longer than this school year know that we have struggled with reliability of that transportation. So I would expect busing to be, expect the buses to run late. We only have 2 routes this year. So just for like a frame of reference, we've had 7 routes historically. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I will have Faith share the phone number for transportation in the chat as well. If your bus doesn't come the first day of school or at all, any day, call that number. Again, they are required to transport you to school. When you call, if the bus hasn't run or isn't running or is running too late, then they're required to send you a substitute bus.
Let's see.
I could give you that number too if you need it.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, it's 614-365-5074.
All right, so that is in the chat. There is a family still waiting to hear back on their appeal, and they're wondering if it might be easier to go directly to CCS in person.
Yeah, so that's another thing that we are thinking that we may need to pursue. I would encourage you, if you have the resources and the time to do that, yes. At this point, the main resource we have is just our numbers and the amount of noise we can make. So, again, I have been trying to communicate as much as I can with the district and with ODE. I mean, basically anybody I can find that I think would be able to help. But I do think that it's much easier for, the folks at CCS Transportation to ignore us, via email, even via phone. So if you're able to go, again, that's something that we're talking about doing ourselves. So if we're able to do that, then I can definitely share with you guys afterwards kind of how that goes, and then maybe give you an idea of if that's an avenue that you could pursue as well.
Some families are wondering about the CODA pass system. I know that we've applied for that in the past. Is there any kind of an update on that? Can students apply for those CODA passes for free?
So we're waiting to hear back. We don't receive the student IDs that Columbus City Schools students receive, and those are the IDs that they use to get the free busing. So I have been trying to talk to the director of sales at CODA to see, if that's an option for us as well, especially because we are, our physical location is in the CCS district. And if that's not available, then the next thing that I would try would be subsidized passes, so discounted to ACPA, to see if we have the resources to provide those to parents. I know CODA is not ideal, but it's definitely a resource that I think could be helpful to a lot of our families.
Somebody asked, what actions is ACPA taking to provide transportation? What about a charter hired by ACPA?
So ACPA has never had to have any sort of budget for transportation because those services are provided to us, for free. So we don't necessarily have the infrastructure or the resources to pursue any sort of charter transportation. We are, like I said before, reaching out to some schools that are private schools or other charter schools that do their own transportation to see if we would be able to either rent the buses and train some staff, or if we could contract out to their bus drivers to pick up our students as well. So we're still working on that. And then, like I said, the CODA passes as well. And then again, just pushing back on these decisions that are being made by the district, because again, what they're doing is not, it's not compliant with the Ohio Revised Code. So ideally, we would be able to go through these appeals and mediations, and the students who were denied transportation this year would ideally be provided that.
Okay, I'm jumping around a little bit, so I'm gonna come back to a certain question, but somebody asked, could payment in lieu be forfeited to ACWA to help provide alternative transport?
So again, we don't really have the resources or the infrastructure set up for any sort of large scale payment like that. The district again does offer that payment in lieu, but it's not really a substantial amount of money, and it's also not paid out till the end of the year. So again, we're definitely re-examining what resources that we have as a school to, more directly aid the families that are without transportation right now. But it's again, as I said at the beginning, this is a very unprecedented situation. So this is not a problem that we are necessarily equipped to solve alone.
Somebody asked, what can us parents do outside of helping our students with transportation? Would it hurt us to involve the news?
I would say if you're able to contact your legislators, be really diligent about contacting the folks at CCS and ODE. I know we had put out a communication that talked about contacting your area representative at ODE. So if you don't know who that is, I can help you find out. And then as far as going to the news, I would say that's at your own discretion.
Is there anything we can do if the bus stop is too far from home?
So you can request a stop change from the district. I will just be transparent and say that they're very unlikely to honor that stop change. Unfortunately, the guidelines for busing high schoolers are that the stop can be up to 2 miles away from your house. But it doesn't hurt to try. So you would call that same number that's in the chat, the 5074 number, to request that stop change. If you have, somebody else on the bus route that's getting picked up at a stop that's closer to you, and you have that stop information, definitely provide them with that. They're much more likely to change that stop for you if it's a stop that already exists.
Jumping around again, are there additional before/after school hours to give driving parents more leeway with pickup?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention that when I was talking about things that ACPA is doing. So we're looking into opening the building 30 to 60 minutes earlier than we historically have, and then keeping it open later as well. We haven't received any sort of official decision from our administrators or our board. So as soon as we do, that would be communicated to parents as well, ideally, so that there would be more flexibility for our parents who work and couldn't transport their students, either getting them here at no earlier than 8:05 or picking them up no later than 5.
For families that don't have any alternative transportation options, what should they do about missing days of school, if that comes down to it?
So if you have no other means of transportation, please reach out to me. We are going to try to do everything that we can to get your kids to school. Again, we are trying to work really collaboratively with our community, utilize any resources that we have, anything new that we learn of that we can start doing. If you don't have any other options, please reach out to me directly to see if any of those resources are things that we could use to help you get your kids to school.
Someone asked, if I was told my child has a route, are you sending out the route information so I will know this week?
So again, we have already sent out all routing information. So if you did not receive a bus route to your email, then that means that we do not have routing information for your student. So please reach out to me, especially if you didn't receive any notification from the district that you weren't going to receive transportation.
My child just got accepted to the school. How do I sign up for transportation?
So you would have to fill out an application with the district. If you're able to pull up that link and send it.
You said to the transportation page?
Yeah, so the transportation page of, it's probably on here too.
Which one? CCO?
Yeah, that, if you go there and then click that.
Okay, so
Okay,
this,
so if you go back, then that's the link that.
great. So this is gonna be just for Columbus, if you are a resident of the Columbus City School District. Information for other districts are also outlined on our website. I'll link that as the second link, but that first one that I just sent is for Columbus City Schools residents only.
And you would just complete the application process. There's instructions on our website. It's pretty straightforward, but it does take a long time. And then once you finish the application, you should receive a confirmation. You can send that over to me, and that's what I would use to kind of follow up on your request until we have routing information.
Okay, so there are parents that haven't received a letter from CCS with a denial or received route information. They should probably contact you, right?
Yes, please email me. Would probably be the best way to compile that. Or if you're not able to, please give me a call. Because that's data I think that is the most pertinent right now for us to have.
The area representative link that was sent out is broken. Can you elaborate what you mean by that, Nick? I'm not seeing where that was linked. Sorry, just wanted to get that going down the list here.
No, you're fine. So we're supposed to have an area representative because I also filed a request for official timings to all the district schools that I knew of our students. And they're supposed to assign an area representative to me. I'm assuming that it would be the same person. So once I have that information, I can send that out. However, there is also a link, which it sounds like maybe isn't working, to find your area representative. So what I'll do is I'll reach out again to some of the folks at ODE that have been responsive to me to find out, who that would be, and then we can communicate that to parents as well.
Yeah, it just says in a prior email, so yeah, we'll just put that, we'll put contacts for those specific people in an email instead of a link.
Yeah.
I filled out the transportation prior to my daughter being accepted to ACPA. I need help with finding out where we are in the process. Contact Miss Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Send me an email. We can take a look and figure out where we're at.
What are they using to measure the timing?
So from what I can tell, they are using the round trip distance instead of the direct distance. So for example, if your district school is 12 minutes away, 12 miles away, then they are stating that the distance is 24 miles. So again, in my opinion, I have no foundation for this, but in my opinion, this is intentional by the district to, be able to invoke this rule to buy themselves time to not have to transport their students, knowing that there's an appeals process that has to happen.
Okay, if I have missed your question, please retype it. I think I've gone through most of them. I know there's a lot of you that maybe enrolled and were relying on that Columbus transportation. And, we are all in this unfortunate situation together, and, we were relying on that too, so.
Yeah, and our number one priority, not just me, but everybody at the school, our number one priority is getting your kids to school. So please reach out to me and let me see how I can help you.
Let's see, what's the thought on taking the payout in 4 days? It sounds like the bus wasn't reliable when it was 7, now 2 routes.
Yeah, so again, that's entirely at your discretion. If you have the resources to transport your student, and you're okay with that reimbursement amount and not receiving it until the end of the year, then I would say yes, go move forward with that. The tough thing is that you have to make this decision at the beginning of the year, and it's not like you can say, I'm gonna reject the payment, and then, see that the busing isn't reliable and say, okay, I changed my mind, I'd like to accept the payment. So, there's really no way to tell. Columbus City, from what I can tell, seems to be more confident in their busing this year. However, the district has obviously been providing a lot of misinformation. So truly I can't say. I wish I had a better idea of how reliable it'll be this year, but I really don't.
somebody mentioned in the comments, and I'm assuming that they're talking about calculating the distance. They did say that they are adding traffic and construction, and wasn't there an issue with that being factored into the
Yeah,
construction?
so they're not allowed to use any sort of abnormal traffic events to calculate their time. What I did when I was first getting these calls and emails from folks is I would put their address in, route it, like map it to our school, and change the time to be from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., which is the time that the bus is usually running. And so Google Maps gives you like a range of like average times, and even the top end of that range was still under 30 minutes for all of the schools that I checked at that time. So, Google Maps does they do incorporate that construction and those traffic patterns. So again, I think this is kind of just like a smoke and mirrors thing. The district can say, hey, there's, we know it's not usually a 15-minute drive, but there's new construction, there's new, traffic patterns, and so now it's going to be, which again, it shouldn't be.
Are we aware of any other charter schools being impacted by this?
Yes. So I think we know of specifically at least 2 or 3 other charter schools. I would imagine that it's more. We haven't really had much communication with those, or I haven't, with those other schools to kind of see what they're doing. So we're working on that as well, to see if we can be collaborative with them and, problem solving.
If some of us sign up for another bus district, would our students get a bus that way?
So you are routed based on your district of residency. So if you live in the Columbus City School District, you cannot apply for transportation with any other district. Also, if you don't live in the Columbus City School District, or the Groveport Madison School District, you wouldn't receive busing, you would receive payment in lieu of transportation, because again, we don't have enough students in any other district for transportation to be practical.
And then people are asking about the distance. To clarify, they calculate the route time based on the distance from the district school to ACPA.
Yes, the one-way direct distance from your district school to ACPA. I think that the thought behind that is that the bus would have to complete its route, therefore ending at the district school, and then travel to ACPA. I don't really know that much about like why the 30-minute rule is what it is, but I do know that the way that it's calculated is not the way that the district was calculating it.
Does the 30-minute rule state round trip distance is what should be used?
No, it specifically states one-way direct travel time. And this is all in the Ohio Revised Code, section 3327, in case anybody is wanting to look at that. I pretty much know it front and back at this point, but if you have any questions about the wording of the laws, that's where you would look.
Someone asked, can we use the shortcut off the highway exit yet? No, and that will never be open again. That is for emergency vehicles only. So in the event that we have an emergency, or any of the businesses back in our little area have an emergency and there's a train coming through, fire and EMS can get through that way, but the public will never be able to use that entry again, which is unfortunate, but you'll have to use Groves.
I will say for our students who walk, so if you live 2 miles or closer to the school, the district will not provide you transportation. They'll deem you ineligible as well. We have gotten them to factor in the travel distance using that new route, because before they were still calculating it using the area that's blocked off now. So not super helpful, but at least some of our students who live somewhat close to the district, having that extra distance incorporated, I mean, it's an additional mile, so that increased the number of students that were able to be eligible.
Do we know the source of the issues? Like, did they run out of drivers? Do we know what the change has been, I guess?
No, there's no way to know for sure, but I imagine that they, because of their driver shortage, that they thought this might be a way to again, be able to consolidate all of their drivers to fill CCS routes. And Columbus City has done a lot of publicity the past few days, stating that they're ready for the school year, that they have their full fleet of buses, all of their routing. So I have to imagine that that is at the expense of, you know, our school and other charter schools being provided transportation. Again, this is all speculation. I don't know for sure. There's no, you know, previous experience that I can draw on for this. But, you know, this is how I'm operating, like the kind of information that we have. That's my assumption.
Of the families that did receive a CCS route, how did their situations differ from those that did not?
So, it seems very arbitrary to me. I haven't been able to figure out what the students on these two routes, you know, like what their location is that makes them be eligible. So I did reach out to the router to see kind of what criteria they were using. I haven't heard back. It's been really hard to get any sort of like direct contact with anybody at the district. But hopefully that's information that they'll share with us, because I think it could also be helpful information in determining how we move forward.
Do we have a plan for before and after school traffic issues now that so many more cars are going to be traveling to the school? Before you say, because I'm sure you have a way better answer than I do, I will say that we just updated our pickup and drop off map, and that is updated on our website. Let me just say that first.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We will also have pretty much our full staff outside the first week directing traffic. We have our school resource officer as well, coming to help with traffic. Hopefully, I mean, I would say expect the pickup and drop off process to take longer. Typically our drop off line is not so bad because the arrival times are staggered, but I will say that even under ideal circumstances, our pickup line can get pretty long. It usually moves pretty quick. However, if we are having like a much higher volume of car riders, then I would say anticipate you know, a little bit longer of a line. But again, we'll be out there directing traffic. So many of us will be out there that, you know, nobody should have any doubts or questions about what they need to be doing.
Yeah, and I think we are having an outside entity directing traffic the first few days. I don't know exactly how many, but
Yeah.
there will be some extra support for the first few days because a lot of people are going to be picking up and dropping off that maybe haven't done so before.
Yeah. And if you're returning, you know, that first week we're out there hollering. We're real loud.
What city or state entity should be contacted to keep CCS compliant to the ORC?
The Department of Education is who's required to, you know, enforce the Ohio Revised Code. Last year, for anybody who attended, you know that I filed multiple complaints with ODE against the district for being out of compliance, for not transporting our students who had routes, but the buses just weren't coming. The response last year was ODE would cut their funding to the district. So I don't know if, you know, that's how that would work for this as well. But ODE is, you know, kind of who provides that oversight or who's responsible for that.
Yorktown is 10 minutes from ACPA and we didn't get a route. Would that be they're too close?
No, because it should only, if you're more than 2 miles, then that wouldn't disqualify you. It's only if you're 2 miles or less from the school, because then they say you can walk. But if you didn't get a route and you also, you know, again, didn't get that letter, please let me know. Because again, a lot of our folks who are real close aren't getting transportation.
Is the cost to charter our own bus for the students affected too expensive for parents to split the cost if they are willing?
So the options that we've looked into so far are very cost prohibitive, but we're not, you know, done looking. We're certainly trying to figure out what options are available to us in terms of like transportation that we can pay for, either ourselves or, you know, with the parents. I'm also kind of hoping that, you know, again, given that this situation is affecting not just us, but other charter schools, that maybe there will be some resources that pop up that maybe don't exist yet, but will to accommodate, you know, what's happening in the district.
Is there a rule against kids getting a ride with a staff member if they're like a family friend?
I can't answer that. I would say that would be like a principal question.
Will there be any attendance issues when kids don't have transportation?
So, yeah, I mean, obviously our main goal is to get your kids here. Attendance is the determining factor of, you know, not just academic success, but all your success you'll have here. So that is why I'm encouraging anybody who doesn't have alternate transportation to reach out to me. Because again, we really want to get your students here. Our handbook has some guidelines about transportation related absences, and there are only certain situations where those absences are excused. So again, obviously when we were writing that handbook, we weren't anticipating this situation, but we do also want to see like what we can do to work with you guys. So again, for that, I would say call or email me.
Will the decision of the extended hours be made before the first day of school?
I hope so.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Let's see. What's the earliest time the kiddos can be dropped off in the mornings? And again, this will probably change if once those hours are approved.
Currently, students can't be dropped off before 8:05, and they can't be picked up after 5. However, ideally, we'd be able to push those out like at least 30, if not 60 minutes, like before and after.
Yeah. Do you have any questions on your list that we maybe didn't get to? I'm at the bottom of my list.
No, I mean, I think kind of just the main takeaways I would like parents to have is that, again, this is like a situation that we never dreamed that we would have to deal with, and we're doing our best. We know that you guys are doing your best, and we really, really, really appreciate you guys working with us. We are hoping to just hold the district accountable. It's not been an easy road, and I don't think it's going to get any easier, but I'm very hopeful that eventually we will get there.
Alright. I don't have any more coming in.
Okay. If anybody is not able to watch this live and does have questions, please email me or give me a call. We're here in the building. The whole staff is now the rest of this week and Monday of next week before school starts. So please reach out to me. And again, if you haven't gotten a bus route and haven't gotten a letter, please reach out to me. If you have no other way of getting your kid to school and you need to talk to me about resources and options, please again reach out as well. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Somebody said in the chat, we will get through this, and we will. That's
Yes,
true. We will.
we
We'll
will.
figure it out.
We're very resilient here.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.